The Industrial Revolution. Social changes Social changes of the Industrial Revolution brought on many social changes. One being urbanization. Urbanization, or the movement of people to cities, changes in farming, soaring population growth, and ever-increasing demand for workers led to masses of people to migrate from farm to city almost overnight. Small towns around coal and iron mines exploded into cities, so because of this, social issues began to play a role, such as, or like, rigid discipline in factories. In factory, workers face rigid schedules set by factory whistles. Workers work long 12 to 16 hours tirelessly, suffering many injuries. Coal dust destroyed the lungs of many workers, and others breathed in lint-filled air. Sick workers worked or else lost their jobs. Women workers Women workers were preferred over men. They could adapt easier, manage easier. More importantly, they could pay women less for the same amount of work. Factory life created problems for women. Women had to work 12 hours or more a day, go home and tend to their families, and clean and cope with sickness and other issues. Socialism. Under socialism, the people as a whole, rather than private individuals, would own and operate means of production, farm, factories, railways, and other large businesses that produced and distributed goods. The goal of a socialist was a society that operated for the welfare of all people. Communism. Communism is a form of socialism that sees a class struggle between employers and employees as inevitable. Marxism. Karl Marx theorized that economics was the driving force in history. Utopians. Utopians were the early socialists who were referred to as utopians after Thomas More's ideal community. The name implied that they were impractical dreamers. Capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system in which the means of production are privately owned and operated for profit. Karl Marx disliked capitalism. He believed it brought prosperity for few and poverty for many. Disease in hospitals. With overpopulated cities, lack of fresh water, and bad pollution, diseases were spread more quickly. With the lack of education with medical care and sanitation, these diseases such as cholera and lupus, which requires cures that were unknown, caused many deaths. Women's rights. Temperance movement, which is a campaign to limit or ban the use of alcoholic beverages. Some women campaigned for abolitions. Many women broke the barriers that kept them out. Late 1800 married women got the right to control property. Women's suffrage. Public education. Children went to school to learn authority, work habits, obedience. Parents were unable to teach children. Public education had no cost. Parents could not afford private schools. New technology. Factories. They brought together workers and machines to produce large quantities of goods, came to be called. Iron industry were key for the Industrial Revolution. Iron was needed for machines and steam engines producing high-quality iron. However, required large quantities of fuel. Abraham Darby experiments led him to produce better quality and cheaper iron. His son and grandson improved on his methods. Labor unions used to help people bargain for better rights. These labor unions fought for better pay, hours, conditions for the workers during the Industrial Revolution, as well as strikes. New technology, part 2. Steam engines. New machines required more power to work. 1760, James Watt invented the steam engine, used It used 1/5 and the length as much fuel. Steam engines were ideal for transportation because of its rotary motion and high pressure engine that held a high power to weight ratio. Textiles. Machines that spun cotton powered by steam or water. And I have pictures of the railroad, my video that I'm going to show you in a second, some of the factories, and the video. I just started it where it mattered, I guess. I started at 1 minute.
Or a way to travel faster than horseback? For 15,000 years, most humans never owned or used a single item made outside of their communities. Simone Bolivar didn't change that, and neither did the American Declaration of Independence. You have electricity? Industrial Revolution. Blueberries in February? Industrial Revolution. You live somewhere other than a farm? Industrial Revolution. You drive a car? Industrial Revolution. You get 12 years of free formal education? Industrial Revolution. Your bed, your antibiotics, your toilet, your contraception, your tap water, your every waking and sleeping second. Industrial Revolution. Here's one simple statistic that sums it up. Before the Industrial Revolution, about 80% of the world's population was engaged in farming to keep itself and the other 20% of people from starving. Today, in the United States, less than 1% of people list their occupation as farming. I mean, we've come so far that we don't even have to farm flowers anymore. Stan, are these real, by the way? Can't tell if they're made out of foam or digital. So what happened? Technology. Here's my definition. The Industrial Revolution was an increase in production brought about by the use of machines and characterized by the use of new energy sources. Although this will soon get more complicated, for our purposes today, industrialization is not capitalism, although as we will see next week, it is connected to modern capitalism. And the Industrial Revolution began around 1750, and it occurred across most of the earth, but it started in Europe, especially Britain. What happened? Well, let's go to the thought bubble. The innovations of the Industrial Revolution were intimately interconnected. Like, look for instance at the British textile industry. The invention of the flying shuttle by John Kay in 1733 dramatically increased the speed of weaving, which in turn created demand for yarn, which led to inventions like the spinning jenny and the water frame. Soon these processes were mechanized using water power until the steam engine came along to make flying shuttles really fly in these huge cotton mills. The most successful steam engine was built by Thomas, they didn't name anything after me, Newcomen, to clear water out of mines, and because water was cleared out of those mines, there was more coal to power more steam engines, which eventually led to the fancying up of the Newcomen steam engine by James I Got a Unit of Power and a University named after me Watt, whose engine made possible not only railroads and steamboats, but also ever more efficient cotton mills. And for the first time, chemicals other than stale urine, I wish I was kidding, were being used to bleach the cloth that people wore. The first of which was sulfuric acid, which was created in large quantities only thanks to lead-lined chambers, which would have been impossible without lead production rising dramatically right around 1750 in Britain, thanks to lead foundries powered by coal. And all these factors came together to make more yarn that could be spun and bleached faster and cheaper than ever before, a process that would eventually culminate in $18 Crash Course Mongol shirts, available now at dftba.com. Thanks, Thought Bubble, for that shameless promotion of our beautiful, high-quality t-shirts, available now at dftba.com. So the problem here is that with industrialization being so deeply interconnected, it's really difficult to figure out why it happened in Europe, especially Britain. And that question of why turns out to be one of the most contentious discussions in world history today. For instance, here are some Eurocentric reasons why industrialization might have happened first in Europe. There's the cultural superiority argument that basically holds that Europeans are just better and smarter than other people. Sometimes this is formulated as Europeans possessing superior rationality. By the way, you'll never guess where the people who make this argument tend to come from, unless you guess that they come from Europe. And then others argue that only Europe had the culture of science and invention that made the creation of these revolutionary technologies possible. Another argument is that freer political institutions encouraged innovation, and strong property rights created incentives for inventors. And finally, people often cite Europe's small population, because small populations require labor-saving inventions. Oh, it's time for the open letter? An open letter to the steam engine. But first, let's see what's in the secret compartment today. Oh, it's a TARDIS. Truly the apex of British industrialization. Dear steam engine, you know what's crazy? You've never really been improved upon. Like this thing, which facilitates time travel? probably runs on a steam engine. Almost all electricity around the world, whether it's from coal or nuclear power, just a steam engine. It's all still just water and heat, and it speaks to how truly revolutionary the Industrial Revolution was, that since then, it's really just been evolution. Best wishes, John Green. So you may have heard any of those rationales for European industrialization, or you may have heard others. The problem with all of them is that each time you think you're at the root cause, it turns out there's a cause of the root cause. Quote Leonardo DiCaprio, James Cameron, and coal mine operators. We have to go deeper. But anyway, the problem with these Eurocentric why answers is that they all apply to either China or India or both. And it's really important to note that in 1800 it was not clear that Europe was going to become the world's dominant manufacturing power in the next 100 years. At the time, China, India...
Okay, so this video is really long, but I feel like I got a good portion of it. But I'm gonna send the link to the video, and that video is also on my blog. And I think I'm done.